my boss. Why don't you come to bed?
Oh, in a minute.
Chess? Oh, you don't even know the rules.
Yeah, I know enough to kick the table over.
Run out of new ways of manipulating people.
Perhaps. Or patience. Or energy.
Or time. They tell me they're nominating James Grant as joint managing director.
Well, a nomination isn't important.
He seems to me to be a good sort of man to lean on.
This isn't a nightclub dance floor.
We do have different tastes. You could ask your clever Miss Chalice for advice.
As professional dinners go, that wasn't too bad.
The hashing over of problems 5 years old.
You have up-to-date problems.
I think James Grant will make a good joint managing director.
I'd expected strong objections from you.
I'm becoming a realist, Sir Gordon. If I voted against the Grant nomination, I'd only have Wilder on my side.
Don't rely on Wilder fighting your battles for you. This is one he's going to lose.
Well, I'll be a very interested spectator.
Safe and sound.
And busy. I now have enough figures for a projected cost analysis of the VTOL project for a 6-year period, say.
6 years? That seems to me theory for the sake of theory.
I am still basically a theorist, Sir Gordon.
Well, that's not much of a compliment to my dancing.
At least I didn't rush for the first aid box.
I'm delighted to hear you have one. Keep the bandages rolled.
So, you've accepted to become joint MD of Ryan's, have you?
You sound disappointed.
It's odd to think of you so closely involved.
Or as a pawn, a wedge between Wilder and Corbett, discreetly driven home by Sir Gordon Revage. Well, why not? The agency's ticking along nicely. I can spare a year or so watching the dogfight.
You seem very sure you won't have to join in.
But I'm not as greedy as the other two. Also, I'll live longer. How is John, by the way?
Wilder?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I suppose.
Suitably non-committal.
What did you expect?
I don't expect anything, Laura. I'll wait until the votes are counted.
I can quite see, Minister, that the cost issue is where any aircraft project is vulnerable.
And any politician.
But politicians, even ministers, depend on information given to them.
Which is why these informal meetings are so useful. Revage, what's this I hear about Grant?
I mentioned it in the car, Sir Gordon.
Grant's a very capable administrator. We'll be lucky to get him.
I gather John doesn't think so.
Well, you can't run an advertising agency and an aircraft firm.
I don't see why not.
Well, maybe we'll find out. There's bound to be a vote anyway.
Which should be almost unanimous.
I wish I could rig appointments as easily as that.
Democracy is often slower than business.
What do you mean by that?
Oh, I must have read it on a calendar somewhere.
I thought you wanted to talk about the NATO market.
This has a bearing on it. You're as tired as I am of Wilder's one-man band.
Wilder knows his job.
Well, part of that job is going to be blocking your appointment as joint managing director.
Now, what would you do in his place?
No. Obstruction isn't one of my talents.
Only indirectly. Wilder chops me and you gain an ally.
I've already told Sir Gordon you can count on my full support.
So any dirty work is Wilder's responsibility. I already know that.
I don't think you'll succeed.
Oh, yes, you do, David.
Well, at least I've made my position clear.
You're just taking out insurance. This time you've got the double-headed penny, haven't you? If Wilder stops me, you win. If Wilder can't stop me, you'll still win. Because Revage will have another pawn in the game against Wilder.
Aren't you being a little too clever?
There's no such animal as too clever. If you've got brains, you use them. Otherwise, they're just holding up your hair.
There are 2 urgent jobs. Yes, like most nowadays. First, I want a list of all the firms that supply Scott Furlong or Ryans with materials in excess of £20,000 a year. Second, I want a list of James Grant's clients, those of his advertising agency. Don Henderson will be able to help you there.
Thank you, sir.
All right, and I'll see Miss Chalice now. Good afternoon, Laura.
Good afternoon, John.
Do sit down. I want a favor.
Honest John today, I see.
Well, it makes a change. I want you to ring James Grant and ask him to withdraw from his nomination for joint managing director.
You're not wasting any time, are you? Why should he?
Good reasons. The best cast iron.
And you want to settle out of court?
Well, I don't want to prop up Corbett in public, and I don't want to make a fool of Grant in front of the board. Grant knows he's being manipulated.
For once,
Well, I could get him out of it, or I could chop him.
you'll have to chop him. I think you've overestimated my influence with James Grant and underestimated my responsibility to Sir Gordon Revage.
Fine. Then ring Sir Gordon Moneybags and tell him that he is backing the wrong horse.
You're
Write
impossible.
him a note. Tuck it in his milk bottle, signed a friend, or better still, tuck it in his sherry bottle. He'll find it sooner.
I'll do one thing. I'll remember that for once you offered somebody a choice.
Well, that may be enough. Thank you.
It may take a week or two, sir. These calculations are in excess of contract.
I want it in days, Mollett. The contract gives access to computer facilities at all times.
It's obviously a cost analysis of some sort, but
But what?
we could work faster if the headings weren't coded.
I've used computers, Mollett. Don't try to baffle me with technical quibbles. Program it under those headings, and I'll tabulate the results.
We handle a good deal of confidential work without all this...
I'll expect to hear from you in a day or so, then.
All right, Mr. Corbett.
Hello, Mollett. What are you doing here?
A small research job for me.
Will it take long?
It's fairly simple. A day or so.
Then it won't cost much, will it? Who's paying for it? Is it in the contract?
Yes.
Then you won't forget to let me have the results, will you? Here's the agenda for Thursday's meeting.
I'm gratified by your sudden interest in the research side.
Well, it's the least I can do to reciprocate your growing interest in management.
I've got those lists for you, Mr. Wilder.
Ah, good. Did you notice anything?
Well, one thing.
Beady eyes, eh? Well, Grant's advertising agency handles mostly technical accounts. Now, most of his big clients supply us with gear which he advertises.
Well, what of it?
Oh, nothing, Miss Lingard. Only I want these lists locked up when I finish with them. Did the minister call?
Well, one of his young men did. They're expecting you for cocktails tonight.
Yes, I get more booze than sleep these days. Still, all in a good cause. Is the private line through?
Yes, sir.
I don't want any interruptions, none at all, for half an hour.
Fine.
Hello. Tensile Metals? As well, will you give me Sir Henry Barrett? This is John Wilder of the Scott Furlong Group. Thank you very much. Hello, Henry. Yes, I'm fine. How are you? No trouble. Point of fact, we've been very pleased with the last two consignments. Very happy indeed. No, Henry, this is something quite different. I want to call on you for some advice. James Grant handles your advertising, doesn't he? Yes, I've seen it, and he does a very good job. The thing is, he is up for joint managing director here. Now, my feeling is that here is a clear conflict of interest. You're one of our main suppliers. He does your advertising. Now, seen from the outside, this is the sort of back-scratching job which can do a lot of us a great deal of harm. Now, it's the sort of the thing the press are always looking for. Well, you must deal with that yourself, Henry. Give Grant a ring, see how he feels. No, I want to assure you of that. It won't make any difference to our orders. Good. Yes, let's do that. I'll ring you sometime. Bye, Henry. Hello. Phillips Tools?
Yes. Who? Phillips. Oh. Ask him to ring back, would you? Yes. Who? What, here? Oh, yes, good. Ask him to come in. Oh, Miss Bentley. Miss Bentley? Yeah. Would you please ring Sir Gordon Revage and ask if I might see him tomorrow? Come in. Half an hour before the meeting in his office. Preferably with Mr. Wilder and Mr. Corbett present. Yes, thank you.
Hello, James.
Hello, Pamela.
My word, we're opulent. Persuasion plus gracious living.
Well, take a good look while you can.
Why, what's John up to now?
Who said he'd been up to anything?
Oh, I've watched him operate for a long time. You bear some of the symptoms.
Well, this agency has just been threatened with a loss of about £200,000 worth of billings, all from clients who depend upon Scott Furlong for the bulk of their custom. They're all worried about conflict of interest if I become joint managing director of Ryan's. Someone has intimated it'll look like a greasy palm job if I continue to do their advertising.
That sounds like John.
Excuse me? Hello, yes. Miss Chalice? Yes, put her on, would you? Hello, Laura. What? When was this? He asked you to ring me, but why didn't you? Oh, I see. Pity. No. No, not tonight, Laura. I don't think so. I'll find some bandages elsewhere. Thanks for the offer, though. Goodbye. He's a man of many influences, your husband. Strangest people like to see him win.
I know a bar where there's a first aid box. And you can call me Florence.
I can't say I'm very pleased about this, James. Your appointment was the main business of the meeting.
It's better late than never.
I fail to see that there is any conflict of interest.
You don't know the advertising business.
You refuse, then, to let your nomination go forward.
That's what I said.
You could resign from the agency. A merger, perhaps.
Tempting. But I'm too attached to independence.
Well, that makes sense.
Somebody must have brought your nomination to the notice of your clients, James. Do you have any idea who?
I don't think we need discuss that.
I'd rather we did. There isn't any conflict of interest. We all know that. That's just an excuse.
You have a match, James.
Somebody's been putting the pressure on.
Well, what about it?
Well, Corbett's concern touches me, but I think it's unfounded.
Well, I'm genuinely sorry about your decision.
I know just how sorry you are.
We'd better be getting in.
Yes, and I must go, too.
Laura?
This is my afternoon for fence mending.
You've been lucky this time, John. Mainly because Jim Grant will not fight other people's battles for them.
Well, I like a man who conserves his energy.
How long can you keep it up?
Oh, I'm the old-fashioned model. They don't make them like me nowadays. I'm built to last.
Not everybody's fond of museum pieces. And Grant has a lot of friends.
Corbett will welcome you. Come on in. The water's fine, if you can stand it.
Disappointing. I'd been looking forward to working with Grant.
Had you?
Of course. There should have been a discussion at least of any pressures on him.
You seem very sure there were some.
I'm sorry.
I regard the matter as closed. For the time being.
Well, I'd like to talk to Grant anyway. There's something I want to discuss with him.
You know his telephone number. Do I take it you have those results?
What?
Wilder made a point at the meeting twice. You're on a computer project.
Research job. I am allowed to authorize work outside contracts now.
Certainly. But you're usually the reverse of defensive about it.
Sick and tired of having to explain to people who don't understand and aren't interested anyway. Anything that takes more than one syllable or 10 minutes to explain bores them. much easier to stick to what they know. I'll have another sherry, or... I'm slicing badly. I must get out on the course more often.
There is more than one language, you know. You could learn to speak that.
What for? It's obsolete.
It's the next corner on the left. Thank you, driver. Why don't you come up for a drink?
No, thank you very much. I don't like drink very much, and I do have a lot of work to do.
Well, another time then.
Oh, good. I could do with a drink. The roads are full of peasants in push carts. My, you look tempting.
Yeah, wait till you see the bill.
Well, the day I come home and find you in an apron is the day I stop coming home. What on earth's there?
It's a very, very dry, homemade martini-type potion.
Ugh, makes your teeth fall out.
Well, James and I thought we needed one.
Oh, well, they're his teeth, aren't they? Hello, James. How are you?
I'm well. It was a long afternoon.
But very profitable, I hope.
Well, I was explaining misunderstandings to clients.
Oh, yes. Phillips rang me about it. They seem very pleased. But then people are when a setback is only temporary.
Thank you very much. Well, here's to dentists.
You always treat the first drink of the evening as if it was cough mixture.
Well, an executive has to look after his health.
How's Corbett?
Fine. Absolutely up to form. He had to explain something, so he did it in words a foot long. 5 directors went to sleep, and then he was very quiet.
Were you asleep?
Never at board meetings. Oh, by the way, we discussed advertising. It looks as though you will be retaining the Scott Furlong account.
You seem to have my interests at heart these days.
Old age and charity.
You need another drink.
You're making it very plain, John.
This is a game with a lot of spectators, and a favorite spectator sport is throwing half bricks.
And John always likes to know which way the half bricks are flying.
No, wrong, very wrong. If there are going to be any half bricks flying around, I want to throw them.
Man?
I brought the results of the check run, Mr. Corbett. It tallies exactly with our first results.
Good. I'm glad to hear it.
I'm sorry you thought it was necessary. We've never had to do it before.
No reflection on your computer work, Mullet? I double-check everything.
It can be expensive.
Well, this time it'll be worth it. Thank you for bringing the other lot around last night, by the way. I appreciate it very much.
All right, Mr. Corbett.
Morning.
Morning.
Miss Evans, would you get me James Grant immediately, please?
Everybody is guessing about NATO contracts. It depends on the same usual questions, development and costs.
And politics.
Why do you think the minister's being so pally?
It's his reputation. The VTOL's a very public project.
I know that we're working in a glass house, but we are ahead on development and cost.
So the minister says. Sir Gordon would like your assurance that he's right.
Well, if he isn't, we all better go and throw ourselves over a bridge.
Is that supposed to be an answer?
Look, if Sir Gordon Revage wants his work and profit in neatly defined squares, tell him to go and take up window cleaning.
I don't see him on a ladder somehow. I will, however, convey the general idea.
How's your friend Corbett?
My friend?
Hmm.
Oh, yes. Busy, I imagine, if he's checking long-term costs through a computer.
Really? But don't you think our worthy chairman should have a copy of that document? After all, he paid for it.
I don't see any urgency.
Corbett,
Yes?
I should like to see those computer figure of yours.
So would I. They're not ready yet.
All right, then, as soon as they are. Very interesting. Miss Lingard,
Yes, Mr. Wilder?
I believe Mr. Mollett is waiting to see me. Will you send him in, please? He's the computer programmer, a small firm, but very reliable.
You gave him the contract, I believe.
I believe I did. Oh, come in, Mr. Mollett. Sorry to keep you waiting. This is Miss Charis.
How do you do?
Pleased to meet you. Here are the 2 sets of results, Mr. Wilder. The original and a check. It's the first time we've ever had to run a check.
Oh, well, you know how cautious these technical people are. It's no reflection on you.
You'll have to get the code for the headings from Mr. Corbett, I'm afraid. These are just figures. We don't know what they refer to.
All right, I'll do that. Thank you, Mr. Morris.
Coded headings are quite common. It's to keep work confidential.
We'll just have to get the code then. Corbett. Hello. Is Mr. Corbett there? When? Where? Well, you'd better find out, hadn't you? Corbett's just left. His secretary says she doesn't know where or when he'll be back.
Just what I want for some light bedtime reading.
Not when you've looked at it. It's a cost analysis of the VTOL project over the next 6 years. The red figures are Wilder's estimate. The blue ones have a ministry safety margin added.
The one they'll accept.
Have accepted, are fully committed to. Now take a look at the green figures. That's what it's really going to cost.
Yes, you're right. It's hardly a light bedtime reading. Nightmares is more like it. All right, David, why me? Why not the full board? Why not Revage?
You know why, because I don't want it conveniently swept under the rug. You know who made the decision which arrived at those figures? Wilder. Commercial advantage every time over scientific proof, and every time it was a mistake.
You'll wreck the project.
No, not if we act quickly. I'm not having my aircraft on the scrap heap just because it's controlled by a man to whom profit and glory are everything.
Anyone else seen this?
Not yet.
Mm-hmm. And I'm the politician in the family. Calculated leak, demand for an inquiry, public scandal. Yes, a lot of heads would roll. You're learning fast, aren't you? I remember the time when you were just a wide-eyed young man with a slide rule and an overdose of integrity.
Yes, well, I didn't make the rules.
That's what Eichmann said. No, I'm sorry, David. I'm really not interested.
After what Wilder did?
Well, the managing director stunt, he did me a favor. Conflict of interest is the first thing you learn to be aware of in the advertising business. But if I quote it, Revage thinks I'm turning down a ripe plum, he gets offended. If Wilder does it for me, I'm still in the running for next year's harvest. And Wilder knew this. I'm not going to help you chop him.
Like most politicians, you bring it down to the cheapest level you can. What about the VTOL? Doesn't it concern you what happens to it?
I'm concerned with what happens to me. Most people push or get pushed. Wilder's a pusher. You're becoming one. Not me. But that doesn't mean I'll be pushed either.
The minister's been trumpeting the VTOL in every speech he's made lately. I don't like him making our promises for us quite so firmly and publicly.
We can hardly stop him. It took a long time to get his confidence.
What did Wilder say?
Hope and pray. That's what he seemed to think the aircraft manufacturer ran on.
It's not enough. Mistakes are too expensive.
Get me a messenger at once, please. And as soon as he's gone, get hold of Mr. Wilder. I'd like to speak to him for a moment as soon as possible.
Of course, we'd be delighted. We'd be taking up Sunday school parties soon. But if some of the minister's colleagues want a free ride, just shove them along. But give me a firm date, please. All right, thank you. Goodbye. Miss Lingard.
Yes, Mr. Wilder?
I'll see Mr. Corbett now. Where have you been all morning?
I have outside appointments, you know.
Well, in future, please let your secretary know where you are so we can get hold of you. Now, what do you want to see me about? First.
It's probably the same subject. You are asking about computer results.
I want to see them, yes.
Well, let me summarize. The one-syllable explanation you're so keen on.
Go on.
I've always said that more development work was needed on the VTOL.
Yes, and I've always overruled you.
You have indeed. Much of that work was needed to iron out production costs.
As I remember, we were waiting for costs and we didn't want to hang around for them.
Well, that's just what you've got. Under present conditions, with the modifications asked for, the VTOL costs projected over the next 6 years will total more than £100 million over your first estimate. If we are to deliver your earlier promises. 100 million pounds, Wilder, because you were too greedy to wait. Because you wouldn't stand still long enough to take an honest look. The methods you used might have worked 10 years ago. They won't work now. You took an aircraft on day one and sold it. What the customer really wants is something that can compete in year 3. You may be able to deliver it, but not at day 1 prices.
Look, I know that all projects have pricing problems. Don't lecture me, Corbett. I know this business doesn't stand still. On what do you base this horror comic?
Materials. In a year, you'll need new alloys, testing procedures, ultrasonics. The day of the one mechanic with a spanner is over. Specialist parts. To make some of those parts on the machines we've just ordered is going back to the spinning jenny.
Well, you've forgotten contract variation clauses.
They're allowed for. The 100 million is on top. And you could have saved it by giving me the production development time that I asked for.
By which time somebody else would have got the contract.
And the same kind of trouble you're in. You deal in people, Wilder. I deal in facts and figures. Well, they're all there. Nobody can dodge them or pretend they don't exist or juggle them. And when those figures are out, they'll crucify your friend the minister, and they'll crucify you. You were running it.
Yes, I think so. Something in gin. I often envy you female tycoons. At least you're not alone all day, having temptation to hit the bottle at 11 o'clock in the morning.
You've forgotten the business lunches.
Yes, but at least you're not alone, feeling furtive when the housekeeper catches you. Nice. Have you been here long?
About a year.
Nice. No cigars and papers and things. Lucky.
For a time. The milkman worries about me.
Oh, well, he gets up too early to be objective.
I made a mistake the other day. Not a big one, but irritating. I turned down a chance to interfere.
Oh, must have been tempting.
Not really.
You mean the John business with James Grant?
Yes. James is a strange man. He detests involvement and gratitude in about equal measure. He regards any business move I make which might work to his advantage as a sort of unsolicited dowry.
Yes, I can see that. On second thoughts, perhaps I don't envy you.
Present from David Corbett.
Looks like his sort of present. Is this why you asked me here?
It's a cost analysis. A very shrewd one. It could mean a lot of trouble.
Does John know about it?
I doubt it.
Shall I tell him?
That's up to you. I don't like involvement either. And as James said, some fights are private.
I'm not so sure that you did make a mistake. Certain people, like John, don't really feel independent unless they bite the hand that feeds them. You can't help them. They have to do it on their own.
I'm surprised. Really.
John in the outside world is quite capable of doing the little boy act if he wants something. But that's all it is. It's an act.
Excuse me. Yes? Who? Oh, John. No, he's in the country now and won't be back until 10 tomorrow. You have the number? Goodbye. That was your husband, wanting to know the exact whereabouts of Sir Gordon Revage.
Well, that sounds more like John.
He can't win this one.
No, but he'll try. They'll all try. While the wives wait. Patient, familiar bed warmers. Sort of vitamin pills for the ego. Somewhere to come back and get the next store of energy for next day's bout of infighting. Corbett, Revage, James Grant, John, all shuffling round the same board, maneuvering. They'll all become old men without ever once of getting off the board.
Hello. Would you apologize for the intrusion, but do you think I might have a word with the minister? This is John Wilder of Scott Furlong. Thank you. Oh, hello, Minister. I'm sorry. Oh, that's very kind of you. Well, I'll come straight to the point. We have a major crisis on costs. Yes, it's all right. This is a private line. I think we should meet tomorrow. I suggest my office here tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Good. Yes, Minister, I quite realize that. We both have a lot at stake. Good night. Oh, hello. This is Scott Furlong. I want a personal call to Sir Gordon Revage, Grinfield 7-3. Yes, that's in Dorset. Will you call me back, please? Thank you. Hello. Will you get me Mr. Bignell of the press office at his private number, please? Yes. Thank you. Hello? Oh, Sir Gordon. Yes, well, panic is a good word. As I'm seeing the minister in my office tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, and I'd like you to be there. Yes, I know you are in the country. But people get up early there, they tell me. Look, Sir Gordon, I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. So put away the protocol, there isn't time. All right, thank you. 10 o'clock in my office. Good night. Hello, Bignell? Look, Bignell, I want you to call a press conference for 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Papers, television, the whole lot. Get them all there. No, there's no reason. You just get them there. Oh, and Bignell, by the way, the press conference is called by Mr. David Corbett.
He's an obsessive. The obsessive always has the advantage. He doesn't have to waste time behaving like a human being. He doesn't know they exist.
And you're a realist?
Mm-hmm. With an increased market value. Oh, let the others move. I'm idle. Hello, Corbett. We were just talking about you.
Good evening, John. I hope I'm not disturbing you.
Of course not. Won't you sit down a moment?
No, thank you. Did you get the document I sent you?
Yes, late this afternoon.
And Sir Gordon?
Well, he's been in the country all day. He'll be back in his office at 10 tomorrow. As far as I know, he has no appointments. A drink?
Thank you, Miss Chalice. I'm sorry to have bothered you. Good night, John.
Good night. Must be nice to have so much help in the exact placing of inflammable materials.
Corbett's a scientist. He knows they've invented the telephone. I wonder which of them will reach Revage first.
Told me last night.
Well, it was an early morning whim. I suddenly felt like a very hearty breakfast.
But you never do.
Well, let's say that is possibly a special occasion. I might be observing the conventions.
What time will you be home?
Oh, I might be early for once, so get the flag out.
Half-mast.
I'll chop the blasted pole down first.
He's late.
Hardly. It's only just 8:30.
Yeah, by his standards these days, that's lunchtime. I've got 3 alarm clocks to prove it.
I see David Corbett's in. He wished me good morning.
It wasn't serious.
No, I think he might have been. He's thawing out a bit.
Oh, well, to make him half human. Look, Henry, I know John is no bargain sometimes. At least he's not a glassy-eyed robot.
Now, I could wish it over, this scuffling for power. I suppose I'm too fond of the quiet life.
Aren't you, Henry?
Why, I've known you order 2 cups of cocoa.
While you drink my share of the champagne. No, Don, I'd like a decision, win or lose.
What's going to happen if Corbett wins?
I'll be on the shelf very quickly indeed. But at least I'll know where I am. Uncertainty gives me indigestion.
Don't throw away the tablets.
Hold on.
John?
Good morning, Henry.
Morning, sir.
Good, that gives you 2 hours.
Oh, what for?
You're going to Milan to this conference thingamy.
But Bradley's there.
And Fraser's going too. Miss Lingard has got your tickets.
Well, it's going to make an awful lot of us in Milan.
All the better. You can make a small charge for the guided tour.
You sound as though you're clearing the decks.
Do I? Well, what if I am? Isn't it about time?
Not know where the chairman of the board is to be found. Well, please do. It's extremely urgent. Hello, David Corbett speaking of Ryan Airframes. Would it be possible for me to see or speak to the minister sometime today on a matter of urgency? What?
As soon as they arrive, I want them shown straight in, Miss Lingard. Oh, and by the way, I don't want any interruptions, none whatever. Do you understand?
Yes, Mr. Corbett, please.
What do you want, Corbett?
I understand you're holding a meeting in this office concerning the VTOL.
That's correct.
Good. As managing director of Ryan Airframes, I have the right to be present.
This meeting is private, Corbett.
Not now, it isn't. I'm staying.
Miss Lingard,
Yes, sir?
would you get 2 commissionaires up here straight away, please? If you're talking about rights, Corbett, remember I still have them all. Now, either you leave this office or I'll have you forcibly removed. It's up to you.
Good Lord.
Good morning, Laura. You're bright and early.
One does need to get away from the office occasionally. It was a lovely morning, so.
And people will be ringing you up about this press conference today called by David Corbett.
You know about it.
Politicians are like bloodhounds. They're no good if their ears don't reach the ground.
You won't be surprised, then.
I try not to be.
David Corbett doesn't know anything about it. I asked him.
You know, it is a nice day. Perhaps we should both go out.
I'd thought of Q.
100 million pounds.
Probable deficit, yes. Despite a lot of publicized confidence in the viability of the project on your part, Minister.
I can remember my own speeches.
However, we still have one advantage. These figures need not have been published for another year.
That's irrelevant. We're fully committed.
You're being very frank about this, John.
I think I owe the Minister that.
Thank you. It's always acceptable to learn early about one's own political eclipse.
Sorry,
Oh,
Minister.
yes, we're not children, Revage. They'd have to axe me for this.
Not necessarily. We still have our advantage.
I'd like to see it.
Time.
We can't argue our way out of this one.
I don't intend to try. The facts and the figures are here. It would be foolish to fight them.
What then?
Well, we still need 3 years to vindicate it. And don't forget, these figures are based on events and materials in the future.
That doesn't do us any good now.
It could do. If we went into the forecasting game, tell everybody about it, put our cards on the table.
It doesn't alter the figures. 100 million pounds.
It does. If we can find a suitable scapegoat.
Only if it does any good.
That depends on the scapegoat.
You?
Me.
How?
Well, the minister is down to answer a question. He should come up in the House at about 3 o'clock this afternoon. Now, here is a full and frank statement of the financial position of the VTOL over the next 6 years.
Where will this get us?
You needn't have put this out for another year. The British love the little boy who owns up.
And where will I have got the figures?
With all due respect, Minister, I should say from your department. An investigation to show your constant vigilance and concern about public funds.
But they're Corbett's figures.
Not really. The ministry have full access, and it's not unknown for 2 financial things to go on at the same time.
What about the politicians?
Well, they'll need a head on a platter. Mine. And also some assurance that everything is virtually all right.
That won't be easy.
No. We shall also need some respectability and influence.
On whose part?
Mine. The volunteer scapegoat. Don't forget, the bigger the better. Obviously, I will have to resign. Here's the letter. All it needs is a signature.
What is your price for signing?
I don't think, Revich, that you quite appreciate the magnitude of Wilder's offer. To my mind, he's behaving in the best interests of us all. I'm surprised at your tone.
Sorry, Minister.
Thank you.
John, I'm sure that for my part, and you have my word on this, your recognition in terms of public honors is long overdue.
Reward for public services.
Which could be announced, or its likelihood, at the same time as the financial statement.
What about commercial respectability? Or need I ask?
A seat on the board of your merchant bank. I think that would do it. Above that, they would be fitting me for a halo.
That's impossible. Flatly, no, John. I can't accept that.
You surprise me again, Revich. You know the amount of money involved.
But, Minister...
Yes or no, Sir Gordon? Do I sign this letter?
All right, Wilder. A seat on the bank board. There's no power there.
Don't you think I know that?
You're to be congratulated on the solution, John. Resigning as overall managing director and joining the Revich board shows we mean business on these finances. As Sir John Wilder, your contribution to the country's good is publicly acknowledged. I shall need the statement and the figures. Thank you. I must be off. Perhaps you'll both be in the house at 3 o'clock. I'll arrange for someone to meet you.
He could welsh on you, John. So could I. We could keep it hushed up for a year. You said so yourself.
You won't, Welsh. You can't. Corbett's calling a press conference for 5 o'clock this afternoon.
Corbett? But he's absolutely no right. He can't.
He has done. I should watch Corbett if I were you, Sir Gordon. After all, he's running the show now.
Mr. Corbett, my husband is still not here. Well, I know he expected to have a fairly easy day at the office and be home early. No, I know nothing of any press conference. I know how you feel, Mr. Corbett. I'm always worried when I can't keep an eye on him.
Is there any message from Miss Chalice or Sir Gordon Revich yet? You sure? Well, what about Wilder? Thank you.
You wanted to see me? Well, now's your chance.
What's this press conference you've called for 5 o'clock? Some method of wriggling out of the mess you've made of the VTOL costs?
No, I think it'll be you that's doing the wriggling. This is a news agency report of proceedings in the House this afternoon. The minister revealed a special investigation by his department into the costs of vertical takeoff aircraft.
His department?
That's what it says. The minister's full and frank disclosure was welcomed by both sides of the House. The firm involved is Ryan Airframes, whose managing director is David Corbett. The overall managing director is John Wilder, whom the minister thanked publicly for his services to aviation and who is strongly tipped to become Sir John Wilder very shortly.
You've still got everybody in your pocket, haven't you?
Not quite. There's a bit more. John Wilder has resigned as overall managing director in order to become a member of the board of the Revich Group.
But you're out. Upstairs or not, you're still out.
With a certain degree of free will. I'd rather commit suicide, Corbett, than let you cut my throat.
It doesn't make any difference. You're out. And I did it.
I did it myself. You made one mistake, Corbett. You haven't got the stomach for the real knife jobs. When you got those figures, you shouldn't have peddled them around. You should have done your own dirty work. Quick and quiet. You're still an amateur. Well, you've got to make the explanations now. 5 o'clock, Corbett. You wanted the firing line. You've got it.